All right, let's settle this once and for all. Which is going to be better? Is fasting better or eating every 3 hours better for you? So, which is the one that actually works? Now, the internet is flooded with opinions where some people will say that fasting is like the holy grail when it comes to fat loss, and some people on the other end will say that if you eat every 3 hours, well, that will boost your metabolism. So, what is the truth? So, before we get to the answer, I first want you to understand what exactly happens in your body when you do either of them. And trust me, this might also give you insights on how to eat and also change the way you eat. First is the metabolism myth. Now, you've heard many people say that you need to eat every 3 hours, and a lot of nutritionists that you go to will normally tell you to eat frequent meals, which normally is every 2 hours or every 3 hours. Even when I first time joined the gym trainer told me that I should eat my breakfast, and after 2 hours, I should eat some fruits, and then after 2 hours, I should eat another lunch, and then after 2 hours, which totaled up to almost 6 meals a day and sometimes even seven. But somewhere for me, that obviously didn't work really well because, when you are in a work setting, you don't really get to eat that often. Like, imagine you're in a corporate office and you tell your boss that, listen, I need to eat now because my gym trainer told me that I need to eat after every 2 hours. I don't think your boss will really care or give you that break. Or if you're in a certain kind of setting which doesn't allow you to eat every 2 hours, so that somewhere becomes a little difficult. But then again, you're like, hey, listen, if I don't eat every 3 hours, then how will my metabolism really get boosted? Because my trainer and even my dietitian has told me that I need to eat every 2 hours. Your metabolism is not like a burning fire that just dies out just because you don't put food in it. And honestly, it's not that needy. It's more like a biochemical process. So when you eat, your body burns calories by digesting the food, and that is what is called thermic effect of food. But the thing is that if you eat smaller meals or if you frequently eat meals, it doesn't increase the total calorie burn. And even there are studies that show that if you eat 6 times a day, or if you're frequently eating meals every 3 hours, or if you just eat 2 meals a day, at the end of the day, the thermic effect of food pretty much stays the same. So, eating more frequently boosts metabolism? Well, honestly, that's not true. But let's say that if you're a bodybuilder, or if you're going for some competition, or if you're competing in something really elite that your body will demand for food. So, if you eat something like every 3 hours, is because you're doing it for something more specific. And that is when eating so often is okay. But most of us, we don't really need or we don't require to eat this often because somewhere we are not really competing in something really elite. But let's say most people who go to their office, they come back home, they do their 1 or 2 hours of working out in the gym. Eating that way becomes a little more inconvenient. Now, on the other side, when it comes to fasting, now most of us have heard about this intermittent fasting, which has just taken the internet over. But fasting has been done for like centuries. It's been done forever, I would say. In fact, it's also there in so many of our religions that exist because it plays such an important role in the human body process. Now, fasting isn't just about skipping breakfast. This is a whole metabolic shift. So, what happens when you fast? So, when you fast, let's say you fast a little more than 12 hours or close to 16 hours, your body does a lot of things inside. Firstly, it increases the amount of growth hormones that are required maybe for your hair, for your cells, for your skin, for your tissues, for your muscles, so many things. And when you also fast, insulin levels also drop. So, when insulin levels drop, your body switches to your stored fat to burn that for energy. That's why if you're someone who is looking to burn fat, then fasting is one of the most beautiful methods that you can go for. It switches the mode from that constant feeding mode to suddenly fat burning mode. And how fasting helps with burning fat is a very simple system. Let's say you have a car which runs on two different fuel systems. You have petrol and you also have CNG. Now, if you're constantly running on petrol, your body will never switch to the alternate fuel, which is CNG, because there's always petrol in the system. But the moment your car is drained out of this entire petrol, it will switch to an alternate fuel that is your CNG, and it will start using CNG to run the car. In the same way, if there is always glucose in your system through food, your body will never use fat or the stored fat for energy. So, fasting somewhere helps switch those fuel systems. Now, you have to understand that fasting and starving are two different things, so don't confuse the two. Please educate yourself on that. And fasting at first is a little difficult because we are in a world which has only been telling us to eat, which is why there is so much of food available worldwide and people are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we are not being able to use our fats to burn for fuel because we are constantly eating and eating. And when you fast, there's one more thing that happens, which is autophagy. And autophagy, let's say if you fasted for at least around 16 hours, then you come to a point where your body goes through a cellular cleanup, where each cell just removes all the trash out from the body and it cleans itself up, and that is called autophagy. So all these damaged cells, they start repairing those proteins and they do a nice cleanup and they start regenerating. And let's be real that if you've ever tried eating food every 3 hours, you're constantly only thinking about food. Because now your brain is just focused on, oh, wait, when is my next meal? So more than listening to what your body has to say, you end up living by the clock. And on the other hand, fasting can be a little difficult at first because your body is not used to it, and somewhere it takes a little while to adapt to something really new. But what you'll notice is that your overall hunger will actually decrease because ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, it comes in waves. Thing is that most of us are not used to it because anywhere you go, you will see food and you will see food items and anything to tempt you to want to eat. So of course it is very difficult because it gets pretty tempting. Now the question is that which one is actually better? Well, you already know the answer, and that is that it depends. See, if you're someone who thrives on a certain structure, who likes to eat more frequently, and also doesn't really overeat, then well, having 3 meals a day is something that you can go with because it might just work for you. Now, a friend of mine loves to eat a little more frequently, like every 3 hours, because she faces acidity if generally she doesn't eat for really long hours. So that's her and that's what she prefers. But if you're someone like me who doesn't like to constantly snack or constantly keep eating, or maybe you want to improve your insulin sensitivity and also want to experience deeper fat loss, then fasting might just be your best friend. And the thing is that there are many types of fasting, and you can try one or the other or whichever suits for you. Because for some people, the 16:8 fasting just works, where they don't eat for 16 hours and for the 8 hours they will eat their meal. Then you also have a 2 meal a day fasting, you also have a 1 meal a day, and then you also have fasting which is like 3 to 4 meals a day, but you have a lot of gap between your meals. So you have multiple levels of fasting, and you can always choose which one you want to go for or which one really suits according to your lifestyle. See, and another thing which you really need to understand is that it doesn't really matter whether you eat every 3 hours or you choose fasting. It's also what you eat during that time. If every 3 hours you're only going to eat crappy food, you're going to overeat, you're going to eat a lot of the ultra processed garbage, then literally having more frequent meals just doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing with fasting. When you have your eating window, if you're eating all the junk food, then your fasting is just going to not make any sense. Now, both of them do have their positives and they also have their negatives. And overall, it's not about obsessing over meal timings, it's about having good, nutritionally dense foods. Because in the end, your body is a complex machine and it requires a lot of different components to come together and make this machine as one. So, giving yourself good food is one major part of it, and the rest of the timings can be adjusted depending on what you do. Now, you tell me that are you someone who eats more frequently or are you someone who follows the fasting method? Let me know in the comments because I want to hear your side of the story.